Schwartz, an athlete who faced incredible odds, was involved in a plane crash in 1931. Initially mistaken for dead, she was placed in the trunk of a car and taken to the morgue. There, it was discovered she was still alive, though in a coma. Remarkably, she made a full recovery and later competed in the 1936 Olympics, where her team won gold. Jack Bonavita, a renowned lion tamer and animal trainer in early 20th century New York, was well known for his daring performances. Sadly, his career ended tragically in 1917 when he was fatally attacked by one of his animals. In the 1920s, dental care at home was quite different from today. With limited access to professional dentists, many people resorted to home remedies or sought help from family members to manage dental issues. Tank Man is the name given to an unidentified protester who bravely stood in front of a column of tanks leaving Tiananmen Square in Beijing on June 5, 1989, following the violent crackdown on pro-democracy demonstrators. In another image from the same event, a man and a woman were captured hiding under a bridge to escape the turmoil that engulfed the area. In 1928, a horse of unprecedented size captured the world's attention, becoming an attraction wherever it was displayed. Its height and imposing stature distinguished it from ordinary horses, earning it recognition as the largest of its time. This evocative image shows legendary hockey goalkeeper Terry Sawchuk, whose face was marked by countless scars from his career, before masks became standard in the game. In the 1920s, the early days of surfing were marked by rudimentary wooden boards, unlike the sleek, aerodynamic boards of today. A photo from that era shows a group of young surfers holding these heavy wooden boards. An iconic 1970 image features one of the models who helped shape the personification of Uncle Sam, the emblematic figure of the United States, which became a symbol of patriotism during both World Wars. In the 1930s, traveling with air conditioning meant attaching a swamp cooler to the car window. This innovation lasted until the 1960s when built-in air conditioning became standard in vehicles. Finally, a powerful photograph from Operation Overlord in 1944 shows two American soldiers resting in a trench in Normandy, a brief moment of respite during the intense fighting of World War II. The Face of War, created by Salvador Dali in late 1940 in California during World War II, is a powerful artwork that captures the horrors of war. Through this painting, Dali sought to convey the terror that surrounded the global conflict. In Bosnia during the 1930s and 1940s, elderly women were photographed bearing traditional Croatian Catholic tattoos, a cultural practice with deep historical roots. In 1930s China, young girls experienced the painful tradition of foot binding, a nearly 1,000-year-old custom that was practiced primarily among Chinese women, often leading to lifelong disabilities. During the 1930s, two scientists, Winthrop Kellogg and his wife Luella, conducted a unique study by raising a 7-month-old chimpanzee named Gua alongside their 10-month-old human son, Donald. The 1920 Tour de France revealed a surprising ritual. Cyclists in the peloton were often seen sharing and smoking cigarettes while riding. At the time, it was believed that this opened the lungs before tackling the steep climbs ahead. In the 1920s, women used a full-face swimming mask to protect their skin from the sun, a curious invention from that era. Meanwhile, the giant stone heads of Easter Island have captivated archaeologists since 1914, leading to ongoing excavations that uncovered the hidden torsos of these iconic statues. The 1940s saw the introduction of a peculiar face and skin-warming mask, part of the era's beauty routines. In 1930 Paris, the Miss Beautiful Eyes contest was held, celebrating the expressiveness and charm of the eyes, which were highly admired at the time. In a remarkable image from 1944, Georges Blind, a member of the French resistance, smiles defiantly at a German firing squad, demonstrating his resilience even in the face of danger. The Onna Bugeisha, Japan's female samurai, were among the most formidable warriors in history. They trained alongside men and wielded a naginata, a light, sharp weapon, to defend their homes and lands with exceptional skill. In 1863, during the American Civil War, Jacob C. Miller was shot in the face and survived, but the injury left an open wound for the rest of his life. Known as the Lion Man, Stefan Bobrovsky became a popular figure in the early 20th century due to his striking appearance. In September 1918, two young girls were photographed delivering ice in Manhattan, a job traditionally filled by men before World War I led to labor shortages. Christopher Robin Milne, the son of A. Milne, was seen with his teddy bear in the 1920s. This beloved toy inspired the creation of Winnie the Pooh, a character that has charmed generations. In 1946 Romania, unusual methods were used to relieve back pain, including one curious treatment involving a bear, as seen in a striking photograph from that era. A photograph from the 1940s captures a man performing mid-flight maintenance on a small plane. Such daring actions were part of the daily lives of pilots and engineers during the early days of aviation when risky maneuvers were more common as the industry was still developing. In a scene from the 1930s, an outdoor barber is seen using an axe to shave a man's beard, showcasing an unusual approach to personal grooming from that era. During World War II in 1944, on a Pacific island, American soldiers were photographed caring for an injured dog from the war dog units, which played a critical role in detecting enemies and aiding soldiers in battle. On June 13, 1970, Cheryl Brown made history by winning the Miss Decrypt pageant and then becoming Miss Iowa, defeating 19 white competitors. In 1971, she became the first African American contestant to compete for the Miss America title. A photo from the late 1950s at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios shows Alfred Hitchcock, the master of suspense, serving tea to Leo, the iconic MGM lion, symbolizing the intersection of creativity and cinematic legend. On April 16, 1912, Ned Parfit, a young newsboy, was photographed selling evening papers announcing the Titanic's sinking the previous night, capturing a moment of global tragedy. Coal miners in Belgium are seen climbing the elevator after a long day's work in the 1920s, reflecting the tough conditions of the mining industry during that period. The last sword duel in French history took place in 1967 between the mayor of Marseille and the Socialist Party's presidential candidate, marking the end of a centuries-old tradition. In 1961, a chimpanzee astronaut posed for the camera after a successful space mission, symbolizing a groundbreaking era in space exploration. A police sergeant, nicknamed Ghost, stands with a wooden replica rifle and a baton in the 1930s, capturing a moment of law enforcement history. In 1878, Billy the Kid was seen playing cricket with his squad, the Regulators, in New Mexico, showcasing a lesser-known side of the famous outlaw. The Thinker, a statue by French artist Rodin, was brought to San Francisco in the 1920s by Big Alma Spreckels, a philanthropist who significantly contributed to the city's art scene. The 1925 film adaptation of The Phantom of the Opera starred Mary Philbin as Christine Daae, aligning with the era's popular culture when Mary was the most common name for girls throughout the 1920s. A controversial photo from Australia supposedly shows a 28-foot crocodile. Some argue that its enormous size results from forced perspective in the photograph, leading to ongoing debate. Before its opening in 1922, the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun in the Valley of the Kings, Egypt, had an intact seal. The seal, made of rope and clay, had remained untouched for over 3,000 years, marking a significant archaeological discovery. The last recorded photo of a thylacine, or Tasmanian tiger, was taken in 1933. This now extinct animal was native to Australia and Tasmania, representing a poignant reminder of lost species. During World War II, a Polish unit adopted a bear named Wojtek, who became a beloved mascot. Wojtek drank beer, smoked cigarettes, and was even given a military rank, symbolizing the camaraderie of soldiers amidst the chaos of war. Margaret Gibb is pictured receiving a kiss from her boyfriend, with her conjoined twin sister, Mary, by her side. Margaret and Mary were inseparable, not just figuratively, but literally. Hachiko, a loyal dog, belonged to Professor Isaburo Ueno in Japan. Every day, Ueno would walk to Shibuya Station with Hachiko before taking the train to work. Tragically, Ueno passed away from a cerebral hemorrhage while at work. For the next 9 years, Hachiko continued to visit the station, faithfully waiting for his owner. The last known photograph of Hachiko, a famous Japanese Akita, symbolizes unwavering loyalty. In 1958, Audrey Hepburn was photographed shopping in Beverly Hills with her pet deer, I.P., showcasing her love for animals beyond the screen. Photojournalist Sam Schur is best known for his 1937 image of the Hindenburg disaster, capturing the dramatic explosion of the dirigible as it returned from a transatlantic voyage. A poignant photograph by Louis Hine from the early 20th century shows a young girl working in a textile factory, shedding light on the harsh realities of child labor during the Industrial Revolution in the United States. Women's fashion in the 1920s was defined by straight, flat silhouettes, which were a departure from the curvier styles seen in other eras. On October 14, 1940, a 3,000-pound bomb struck Balham Underground Station in London during World War II, piercing 30 feet below the surface and detonating above the passageway connecting the station's platforms. On December 11, 1941, Adolf Hitler addressed the Reichstag at the Kroll Opera House in Berlin, formally declaring war on the United States. A monkey, known for its love of travel, is seen catching a ride on the backpack of a Chinese infantry soldier along the Lado Road, which played a crucial role in the Allied campaign to retake Burma during World War II. During the 1940s, Stetson Kennedy infiltrated the Ku Klux Klan under a false identity to expose their activities and gather information. In the early 20th century, Chicago was infamous for its high crime rates. After Prohibition was enacted in 1920, smuggling gangs thrived, profiting from the illegal alcohol trade. In 1921, Deputy Commissioner John A. Leach of the New York City Police was photographed overseeing the disposal of seized alcohol during a Prohibition operation. The first official FIFA World Cup took place in 1930, organized by Jules Rimet in Uruguay. The host nation emerged as the winner, marking a milestone in global sports history. On March 14, 1951, Albert Einstein celebrated his 72nd birthday while leaving work at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey, surrounded by photographers eager to capture the moment. Albert Einstein, the world-renowned theoretical physicist, is famously captured sticking out his tongue in a playful gesture, seemingly irritated by a gathering of press members. This candid moment highlights Einstein's human side amidst his groundbreaking contributions to science. The 1980 Summer Olympics held in Moscow, Soviet Union, opened with a grand ceremony at the Luzhniki Olympic Stadium. The event was a spectacular display of national pride and power, featuring thousands of athletes from around the globe parading in a celebration of sportsmanship and international unity. In 1957, Dorothy Counts became a trailblazer as the first black girl to attend an all-white school in the United States. At Harry Harding High School in Charlotte, she faced relentless mockery and insults from her white peers, symbolizing the intense racial tensions of the era and the courageous fight for desegregation in education. Peter Fruchen, an Arctic explorer, is seen posing with his wife in 1947. Fruchen had endured extreme hardships, including losing a leg to frostbite in 1926 during his explorations, yet he remained a symbol of resilience and adventurous spirit. Stagecoach Mary, a towering 6-foot-tall woman born into slavery, was renowned for her formidable temper and strength, akin to a grizzly bear. In the late 1800s, she broke barriers by becoming the first black female mail carrier in the United States, paving the way for future generations of African American women in the workforce. The last known photograph of the eccentric inventor Nikola Tesla was taken on January 1, 1943. Despite his numerous groundbreaking inventions and contributions to modern electricity and electromagnetism, Tesla died penniless and alone, leaving behind a legacy of innovation and mystery. Balaji Badillo, a 6 feet 10 inches Nigerian design student, brought the iconic xenomorph to life in the classic 1978 science fiction thriller, Alien. His impressive stature and graceful movements were pivotal in creating the film's unique and terrifying alien creature, which has since become a staple in the genre. A dramatic scene from the 1930s shows Ted Drake of Arsenal being carried off the field unconscious after a collision. Remarkably, he was revived and returned to the game, where he went on to score 3 goals, showcasing his determination and resilience as a footballer. Rin Tin Tin, the famous German Shepherd, served in World War I before being rescued from the conflict. He transitioned to Hollywood stardom, debuting in the 1923 film Where the North Begins, and went on to appear in numerous films and television series, becoming a beloved canine icon. A vibrant photograph from the 1920s Halloween celebrations in the United States captures people dressed in large, scary costumes and masks. During this time, Halloween costumes were more sinister and handcrafted, contributing to the eerie and imaginative atmosphere of the festivities. Bonnie and Clyde, the notorious American criminal duo, left an indelible mark on the nation's history during the Great Depression. Their crime spree in the 1930s captured the public's imagination, symbolizing both the desperation and defiance of the era. A famous 1932 photo shows them alongside their gang, epitomizing the outlaw image that fascinated the American public. The iconic photograph known as "Lunch Atop a Skyscraper," taken in 1932, depicts 11 workers casually having lunch on a steel beam hundreds of feet above the ground during the construction of Rockefeller Center in New York City. This image has become a symbol of the daring and camaraderie of workers during the building boom of the early 20th century. In the late 1920s and early 1930s, speedway races at Stamford Bridge in London were major public attractions. These high-speed motor races drew large crowds, eager to witness the thrilling competition and the emerging popularity of motorsports in Britain. A unique piece of law enforcement history from the 1920s Los Angeles features a police motorcycle equipped with a sidecar prison cell, used to transport prisoners securely. This innovative approach to policing reflected the challenges of maintaining order in a rapidly growing and often tumultuous city during the Prohibition era. Robert Cornelius, an American pioneer of photography, took what is widely regarded as the first photographic self-portrait in history in 1839. This groundbreaking image marked the beginning of self-portraiture in the realm of photography, showcasing Cornelius's innovative spirit. August Landmesser faced severe restrictions under Nazi laws, which prohibited him from marrying his Jewish fiancée, Irma Eckler. In a bold act of defiance, Landmesser famously refused to perform the Nazi salute, symbolizing his resistance against the oppressive regime. In 1911, inventor Chester E. McDuffie stood beside one of the first atmospheric diving suits. Weighing 550 pounds, this early diving suit was a remarkable achievement in underwater exploration technology, paving the way for future advancements in marine engineering. A historic photograph from 1899 is celebrated as the first ever underwater image, capturing the serene beauty of the submerged world. This pioneering moment in photography opened new horizons for underwater exploration and documentation. Lyudmila Mikhailovna Pavlichenko, a Soviet sniper during World War II, is credited with an impressive 309 confirmed kills, with some estimates suggesting her tally may exceed 500. Her extraordinary marksmanship made her the most successful female sniper in history, earning her the nickname Lady Death. Colonel Harlan David Sanders, the real-life founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken KFC, began his journey in the 1930s by serving fried chicken at his gas station in Kentucky. His dedication to perfecting his secret recipe eventually led to the creation of the iconic KFC brand, which remains a global phenomenon today. In the Netherlands, a poignant photograph from 1888 shows the graves of a Catholic woman and her Protestant husband, separated by a wall. This image reflects the religious divisions and societal norms of the time, highlighting the personal impacts of broader cultural conflicts. The first subway train ride at Edgware Road Station in London took place in 1862, marking a significant milestone in the history of urban transportation. This event signified the beginning of subterranean rail travel, which would revolutionize city commuting and infrastructure development. During the early 20th century, baby cages were used in some urban apartment buildings to ensure that infants received adequate sunlight and fresh air. This unconventional method underscored the challenges of raising children in densely populated living environments. In the 1920s, women who wore bathing suits that were deemed too short faced fines, reflecting the strict societal norms and modesty standards of the era. This regulation highlights the cultural expectations placed on women's attire and public behavior during that period. The 1934 film, Two Monks, directed by Juan Bustillo Oro, is a notable work in Mexican cinema. The film's poster captures the essence of its plot, which revolves around the lives and struggles of two monks, offering a glimpse into the storytelling and artistic styles of the time. During the 1930s, Chicago became renowned for its architectural and urban innovations, including the development of the car elevator system. These advancements contributed to the city's reputation as a hub of modern engineering and architectural design. In December 1961, a young The Beatles performed for a small audience of 18 people at the Aldershot Club. This intimate performance was a precursor to their meteoric rise to superstardom, which they would achieve within the next year and a half, transforming the global music landscape. James Naismith, the inventor of basketball, is photographed holding a basket while demonstrating the newly created game. Beside him, his wife holds a ball, representing the original spirit of the sport. Naismith developed basketball in 1891 as a way to keep his students active during the winter months. A.U.S. Navy sailor is captured kissing an unknown woman on VJ Day. Victory over Japan Day in Times Square, marking the end of World War II. This iconic image symbolizes the spontaneous joy and relief that accompanied the war's conclusion. Mahatma Gandhi, the pacifist leader of the Indian independence movement, is seen sitting beside a spinning wheel, known as a charkha. Gandhi promoted the use of the charkha as a symbol of self-sufficiency and resistance to British colonial rule, emphasizing the importance of simplicity and autonomy in the fight for independence. At the age of 16, Arnold Schwarzenegger competed in his first bodybuilding competition. This marked the beginning of a remarkable journey that saw him become a global icon, winning multiple Mr. Olympia titles and eventually transitioning to a successful career in film and politics. The 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso, is shown as a young child in the late 1930s, shortly after being recognized as the reincarnation of the Tibetan spiritual leader. He is seen sitting in front of a Buddha statue, symbolizing his future role as Tibet's spiritual guide. On April 5, 1976, Ted Landsmark, a black lawyer, inadvertently found himself in the midst of an anti-busing protest in Boston. The crowd, enraged over the racial integration of schools, attacked him, creating a powerful image of racial tensions in America during that era. In 1945, the Gadget became the world's first atomic bomb, created as part of the Manhattan Project, the United States' secret initiative to develop nuclear weapons during World War II. An image from 1912 captures a scientific test of a rugby helmet, showcasing the early safety measures for athletes, which were far less advanced than today's standards. Catherine Switzer, the first woman to officially enter the Boston Marathon, is seen being physically confronted by race organizers attempting to prevent her from competing. Her defiant participation in 1967 marked a significant moment in the struggle for women's equality in sports. In 1967, Catherine Switzer made history as the first woman to finish the Boston Marathon, despite attempts to stop her mid-race. Her determination became a milestone for gender equality in sports. In the final days of World War II in 1945, Jewish prisoners were photographed shortly after being liberated from a death train, capturing a moment of both relief and the devastating realities of the Holocaust. On August 6, 1945, an atomic bomb exploded over Hiroshima, Japan, resulting in a photograph that has become a stark symbol of the event. A second atomic bomb was released on Nagasaki on August 9, 1945, leading to similarly powerful images documenting its catastrophic impact. On April 19, 1995, a fuel and fertilizer truck bomb detonated in front of the Alfred P. Mora Federal Building in Oklahoma City, destroying the front of the building and killing 168 people. This tragic event remains one of the deadliest domestic attacks in U.S. history. An image from the 1910s shows a baby learning to walk inside a wicker structure while the mother does laundry, reflecting early parenting methods designed to keep children safe while adults managed household tasks. In 1984, a construction worker is seen standing atop a steel beam during the construction of Columbia Tower in Seattle, showcasing the daring and resilience of workers building skyscrapers. A poignant photo from London in 1940 captures a young girl sitting with her doll amidst the ruins of her bombed home, illustrating the impact of the Blitz during World War II. Taken in 1967, the famous photo known as the Kiss of Life shows an electrician, Randall G. Champion, performing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation on his unconscious colleague, J. D. Thompson, after Thompson was electrocuted while working on a power pole in Jacksonville, Florida. Thanks to Champion's quick action, Thompson survived. Radio broadcasting gained popularity in the early 1920s following technological advancements made during World War I. Weekly music broadcasts began in 1919, and by 1922, over 500 stations were on the air, providing daily programming to listeners across the nation. On April 18, 1878, Thomas Edison unveiled his phonograph, the first device capable of recording and playing back sound, at an event in Washington, D.C., marking a revolutionary moment in audio technology. In a unique marketing campaign in Copenhagen, Denmark, 1936, the facade of a 5-story department store was covered with coats as part of a large-scale sale. The campaign was so successful that police were called to manage the overwhelming crowd, and all the coats sold out quickly. In June 1962, Marilyn Monroe posed for a series of photos by George Barris. Despite her radiant movie star smile, Monroe struggled with personal turmoil, passing away from an overdose on August 4, 1962. A 1920 event in France showcased the original costume of Bibendum, the Michelin tire company's mascot. The iconic figure became a lasting symbol of the brand's identity. In 1969, Neil Armstrong returned to the lunar module shortly after making his historic first step on the moon's surface, representing a defining moment in human achievement. In 1958, Elvis Presley, one of the most popular music stars of the time, was drafted into the U.S. Army. He spent part of his service in Germany, where he experienced a new chapter of life beyond the stage. Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, better known as Lenin, was a prominent Russian communist revolutionary and political theorist. The last known photograph of Lenin captures him during his final years, marking the end of a significant era in Russian history. By 1923, Vladimir Lenin had suffered 3 strokes, leaving him completely mute. This marked the final stages of the Russian revolutionary's life, as he struggled with severe health issues until his passing in 1924. In the 1920s and 1930s, hay was commonly transported using cars and horse-drawn wagons before motorized trucks became widespread. These early vehicles were often fitted with large beds or specialized hay racks to carry bales of hay, showcasing the evolution of agricultural transportation. An American film actress of Ukrainian origin gained popularity in the 1920s and 1930s in the USSR, Europe, and the United States. Proud of her heritage, she often mentioned in interviews that she was born in Kyiv, setting her apart from other Hollywood actresses who downplayed their origins at the time. In the 1920s, elephants were frequently used for heavy labor in countries like India and Thailand, where they assisted in construction and material transport. These animals played a crucial role in local industries before modern machinery became the norm. During a trip to Afghanistan in 1984, photographer Steve McCurry documented the migration of Afghan refugees, capturing the struggles of displaced people. One of his most famous images from this trip was of 17-year-old Sharbat Gula at the Nasir Bagh refugee camp. This iconic photo became a symbol of the Afghan conflict and graced the cover of National Geographic in June 1985. A man stands atop the lap of the imposing statue of Ramses II, one of the most powerful pharaohs of ancient Egypt, demonstrating the scale of this ancient monument. During the Apollo 16 mission in 1972, astronaut Charles Duke left a photograph of his family on the moon's surface, creating a touching and personal moment in the history of space exploration. On December 24, 1968, astronaut William Anders captured the famous Earthrise photograph during the Apollo 8 mission, showing Earth rising over the moon's horizon. This striking image, symbolizing the fragility and beauty of our planet, became one of NASA's most celebrated photographs. The image, known as the Pillars of Creation, depicts towering clusters of gas and interstellar dust in the Eagle Nebula, located about 7,000 light-years from Earth in the constellation Serpens. Captured by the Hubble Space Telescope, it offers a breathtaking glimpse into star formation in the cosmos. The last known photograph of the Titanic still afloat was taken in 1912, just before the ship's tragic sinking. This haunting image captures the ill-fated liner during its maiden voyage. Ford cars became widely popular during the 1930s, an era defined by the Great Depression, which left millions of Americans struggling for years. Despite the hardships, Ford's affordable automobiles revolutionized transportation in America. Stanley Woods, one of the legendary figures in motorcycle racing during the 1930s, is seen with his Husqvarna bike. Woods won 10 Isle of Man TTIOMTT events, a record that stood for decades until it was surpassed by Mike Halewood. In an iconic image from 1890, Nikola Tesla sits near his massive firing transmitter in his Colorado Springs laboratory, where he conducted groundbreaking experiments in wireless electricity. World War I's origins are often simplified to the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria by Gavrilo Princip, a Serbian nationalist. Princip, seen held by two police officers in this historic photo, committed the assassination on June 28, 1914, in Sarajevo, setting off a chain of events that led to the global conflict. The historic flight of Orville and Wilbur Wright at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, in 1903 marked the birth of aviation. This pioneering flight turned the Wright brothers into household names. By the mid-1940s, Lana Turner had become one of the highest-paid actresses in America and a major star for MGM. Her films grossed around $1 billion for the studio when adjusted for 2024 inflation, underscoring her significant impact on Hollywood. Women practicing archery in the 1930s represented a broader movement toward independence and wellness. During this time, women increasingly participated in sports as part of their quest for empowerment and physical health. The Pierce Arrow Model 80, launched in 1924, marked a significant advancement in automobile design. This innovative model set a new standard in luxury cars and became a reference point for future designs. Bessie Smith, widely known as the Empress of the Blues, dominated the jazz age as the most popular blues singer of the 1930s. Her powerful voice and emotional performances made her a defining figure in American music history. Audience members at the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus in the 1940s were surprised by a worker dressed as a gorilla, adding an element of unexpected humor to the circus atmosphere. Jacques Fath, a pioneering fashion designer, rose to prominence in the 1930s with his colorful and inventive designs. Catering to a young, international clientele, Fath's creations were filled with vitality, making his brand a symbol of elegance and modernity during that era. The Willys MB, manufactured by Willys Overland Motors between 1941 and 1945 for the Allied forces, became an iconic, rugged all-terrain vehicle. Embodying the true spirit of the Jeep, go anywhere, do anything, the Willys MB played a crucial role in military operations during World War II. The term, little ships, refers to warships that returned from World War I, crowded with soldiers who had survived the conflict. These vessels became symbols of resilience and relief as they brought soldiers safely back home. In a playful publicity event from the 1920s, legendary boxer Jack Dempsey is seen throwing a light punch at illusionist and stuntman Harry Houdini, who is held by fellow boxer Benny Leonard. The photo captures a moment of camaraderie among the famous figures of the time. Mongo Santamaria, a renowned percussionist and Latin jazz band leader, was among the wave of Cuban percussionists who migrated to the United States to work in the 1940s and 1950s. Santamaria's contributions helped shape the Latin jazz scene in America, bringing Afro-Cuban rhythms into mainstream music. A poignant image from Soviet Russia shows children playing chess next to a bust of Lenin, emphasizing the emphasis on education and strategic thinking during that era. Between 1931 and 1940, the Great Depression brought devastating consequences to the United States, claiming the lives of 8.5 million people due to hunger. Additionally, 5 million farmers were expelled from their lands because of overwhelming debts, highlighting the economic challenges of the era. Esther Jones, known as Baby Esther, was the original inspiration for Betty Boop. An African-American singer and performer from the late 1920s, Esther's distinctive singing style and playful persona helped shape one of the most famous animated characters in American pop culture. Clara Bow, a famous actress from the silent film era, embraced the Halloween spirit in the 1930s, posing in festive attire. Known as the quintessential "it girl" of her time, Clara's charisma and unique style embodied the carefree spirit of the jazz age. In the 1930s, Simon's Drive-In restaurant became a popular hangout, representing the rise of car culture in America. This early drive-in offered a new dining experience, where customers could enjoy meals from the comfort of their cars, symbolizing the evolving American lifestyle. Wayne McAllister designed the circular Simon's Drive-In restaurants in a streamlined modern style, featuring a distinctive three-tiered roof and a neon advertising pylon. These features captured the futuristic spirit of the 1930s and contributed to the rise of car culture in America. In the early 1920s, the Graymont Hospital Outdoor School was established after the Belfast Corporation purchased the building in 1919. The school was part of the municipal hospital's efforts to treat children affected by tuberculosis, with sunlight exposure being an essential part of the treatment. Russia endured two devastating wars between 1914 and 1920, followed by the Russian Civil War after the Russian Revolution. Economic turmoil, compounded by a drought in early 1921, led to a severe famine that devastated the country, marking one of the darkest periods in Russian history. A United States Coast Guard crew is seen patrolling aboard a schooner in the 1940s, reflecting their role in maintaining maritime security during World War II. The Agaba mask, also known as the Mugbedik, dates back to the early 20th century and represents the warrior tradition of Igbo society in Nigeria. The mask is a powerful symbol of cultural identity and strength. The Star Wars cast, including Harrison Ford Han Solo, David Prowse Darth Vader, Peter Mayhew Chewbacca, Carrie Fisher Princess Leia, Mark Hamill Luke Skywalker, and Kenny Baker R2-D2, are seen out of costume during the production of the iconic film series. On April 15, 1865, John Wilkes Booth assassinated Abraham Lincoln at Ford's Theater. 4 days later, on April 19, a funeral procession marched solemnly down Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C., as the nation mourned its fallen leader. From 1920 to 1937, the Royal Air Force held annual parades at the Hendon Aerodrome in northwest London. These exhibitions aimed to showcase the RAF's skills, aircraft, and accomplishments. Sylvia Pankhurst, a prominent British suffragist, was arrested 15 times during her campaign for women's rights. In a historic photograph, she is seen being toasted at a breakfast celebrating her release from prison, symbolizing her relentless dedication to the cause. Bob Hope began his nearly 80-year career by playing streetcars and boxing for money before transitioning to a vaudeville act with his friend, Lloyd Durbin. Vaudeville, a mix of dance, comedy, and sketches, was a popular entertainment form in early 20th century America. In 1907, Annette Kellerman was arrested for promoting women's right to wear swimsuits. Her bold stance on women's rights became a symbol of early efforts toward gender equality in fashion and society. A group of miners working during the California Gold Rush circa 1850 reflects the bustling era of gold exploration in the United States, which attracted thousands of prospectors and transformed the American West. In 1956, a German prisoner of World War II was released by the Soviet Union and reunited with his 12-year-old daughter, whom he hadn't seen since her childhood. The emotional reunion highlighted the personal impact of the war and its aftermath. In a touching moment from 1925, a policeman is seen stopping traffic to allow a cat carrying a kitten to cross the street safely, demonstrating a simple act of kindness in a bustling city environment. The models used by Grant Wood for his famous American Gothic painting, created in 1930, were a farmer and his daughter, both with serious expressions. This iconic work symbolizes American rural life and has become one of the most recognizable images in American art history. In 1911, during the Terra Nova expedition led by British explorer Robert Falcon Scott to Antarctica, a striking image shows two expedition members standing in an ice cave with the ship Terra Nova anchored in the background, surrounded by ice and snow. Hannah Stilley, born in 1746, was photographed in 1840, making her one of the earliest individuals to be captured on camera, representing a rare link to the 18th century. An image from 1955 captures customers exploring a music store in London, during a time when vinyl records were the primary medium for enjoying music. In 1918, 18,000 soldiers in Des Moines, Iowa, formed a human Statue of Liberty to promote the sale of war bonds during World War I. This creative act of patriotism aimed to support the war effort. On January 13, 1968, Johnny Cash prepared to perform during his legendary Folsom Prison concert, a performance that became one of the most iconic moments of his career. In 1961, Residents of West Berlin lifted children over the Berlin Wall so that grandparents living on the eastern side could catch a glimpse of them, reflecting the personal hardships caused by the division of the city. In 1926, brave workers climbed the towering heights of the Woolworth Building in New York, a skyscraper that symbolized the city's rapid growth. At the time, these workers faced daily risks while constructing these monumental buildings. A 1914 photograph captures a group of workers painting the iconic Brooklyn Bridge in New York. Suspended from high cables, these men undertook dangerous maintenance work essential for preserving the historic structure. Between 1931 and 1936, thousands of workers united to construct the Hoover Dam, a monumental engineering feat on the border of Nevada and Arizona. Completed in 1936, the dam was designed to control floods, provide irrigation, and generate hydroelectric power. In 1932, workers painted the Eiffel Tower in Paris, applying multiple layers of paint to protect the iron structure from corrosion. The task was risky and exhausting, requiring precision and endurance at great heights. On January 30, 1969, the Beatles performed an impromptu concert on the rooftop of the Apple Corps building in London. This surprise performance, later known as the Rooftop Concert, became their final live appearance as a band. Nelson Mandela raised his fists defiantly after being sentenced to life imprisonment in June 1964, marking a pivotal moment in his lifelong fight against apartheid in South Africa. Lee Harvey Oswald is widely recognized as the man who assassinated U.S. President John F. Kennedy on November 22, 1963, in Dallas, Texas. Oswald was captured shortly afterward but never stood trial, as he was fatally shot by Jack Ruby 2 days later. The old Cincinnati Public Library, built in 1874, was a true architectural and cultural gem. However, in 1955, the library was demolished and replaced by a parking lot, a loss that is still lamented by architectural enthusiasts.